What's up? It's Randy. The only thing that I can think of that's worse than somebody farting on a public bus is when you record with your clicktrack too loud in your headphones and it gets picked up by your microphone. Today, I'm gonna show you how to fix that. Okay, so the first way that we can get rid of clicktrack is by using an EQ, and it's actually much more simple than you'd think. So acoustic guitar has a lot of high end while we're strumming like this. But there's not a lot of high end in the sustain part of the instrument. The harmonics tend to drop off quite quickly, so take a listen to this. But you can still hear that click track is up there. So what I'm gonna do is use an EQ to get rid of that. So let's go ahead and add the most basic EQ. This one comes with Pro Tools. It's super basic, everybody has it. I'm gonna put on a low pass filter, and I wanna drag this low pass down until it starts to get rid of the click track, but isn't really impeding on the tone of the acoustic guitar. So let's play this sustain. Of course, it's a bit of a balancing act because you really have to figure out how far can you go and cut out the click track without really impeding the tone of the acoustic guitar. And you can actually run into some weird tuning issues if you take out too many of the harmonics. It starts to make the guitar sound out of tune. In the context of a big mix, it's not gonna be a huge deal if we cut out lots because there's probably already, other guitars or piano or whatever sustaining here, so we can be a bit more aggressive. You definitely have to use a bit of discretion. So we've got it to a sweet spot here where it feels like it's cutting out the right amount, but it's gonna be too much during the strumming parts. So what we need to do then is automate this filter. So let's go ahead and create an automation point. We're gonna automate the frequency. I'll add that and click OK. And that's gonna give us a drop down to control that frequency right here. And I know I want it to end where I have it set. So I'll make an end point and I'll make a start point right after the strum. So we do the last strum and then it starts to kick in. So let's take a listen to this. So I actually want it to be a little bit faster because it's not quite doing enough work right away. So as you can see, it's not perfect, but it does work pretty well to get rid of some of that click track. You just have to use a bit of discretion to figure out how much you want to go with it and if it's starting to actually affect the tone of your acoustic guitar. All right, let's move on to tip number 2. Okay, tip number 2, this is using iZotope RX7 or RX8. You can use either one. I just have a few more plugins in RX7, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this. I'm gonna import that video that we were just watching. All right, and so here is our audio. This program is really cool, so we can actually toggle the view to show our waveform, or we can go over to this other view, which is called a spectral frequency display, something like that. And you can actually see what's happening with the frequency content here. So this is all the low end, the low frequencies. Those are our fundamentals, the bright orange. And then these are harmonics as we work our way up. So that's really high frequencies, really low frequencies. And this is just left and right. So you can actually see this click track down in this area here. And this is essentially exactly what we were trying to do with that last tip. We were trying to build an EQ that would turn on during this section and slowly work its way down without impeding on these harmonics, because we don't want to erase them, but we do want to follow this curve as best we can so that we're erasing all of this nasty content over here. But we can actually do this manually with this program. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here. What I'm gonna do is paint these clicks here. So you don't have to be perfectly accurate with this, but you do want to get the majority of it kind of isolated. Okay, and once you've got a few highlighted, you can actually just go ahead and press delete. And you can see they just disappeared. So now let's go ahead and take a listen to this section with those newly erased areas. And you can see they've left sort of a black hole where they used to be. That may become a bit of an issue, but just let's take a listen and see how that sounds. Not bad, right? That's after a minute of manually erasing these things. So you can see the difference now here. Here's the section that I did. Here's the section that I haven't touched yet. So it's pretty sweet that you can just erase frequency content like that. It's actually kind of scary. So that is tip number 2. This is using iZotope, and there's actually a tool built into iZotope specifically for removing click tracks. So let's go ahead and jump over to tip number 3. Okay, so this is tip number 3 using iZotope's debleed, which is actually designed specifically for this function. So basically you have to import 2 different tracks. You need your recording, which is this one here, demo stem, and then you need a recording of the bleed that you're trying to remove. So let's say you have a singer singing into a microphone. You also want to print out what you sent to that singer's headphones to teach that channel what to remove. It'll make more sense once we jump into it. So let's import both the click track and the demo stem here. So you can tell that's my click track, and this here must be my demo. Yep, there it is. And it's important that they start at the same timestamp. So they both have to be from 000 within your recording, essentially. So let's go to debleed. Once we're on our demo, you can see all this annoying click track. That's what we want to get rid of. So I'm going to go to the debleed option, and it says select bleed source track. So we want to select the click track to basically teach iZotope what to listen for. So now it's going to go ahead and learn this. And you can see it's found click track, and it's found similar things within our demo recording here. Let's go ahead and just render this out. And watch up here for the magic to happen. Gone. And you can see it's erased all of those click tracks. You can actually notice that there are some gaps in here, and those might be a bit of an issue, but let's take a listen to this and see how well it did. Okay, so as you can tell, there's a little bit of pumping and breathing happening here. You can kind of tell it's sucking out in those spots a tiny little bit. So let's undo what we just did, and let's try to do this a little bit more subtle. Maybe I'll take the reduction strength down to like half, and we'll go ahead and render that. So this is gonna be a little bit less effective, but it's also gonna be a little bit less obvious and intrusive. So let's take a listen to this as soon as this is done printing here. So I mean, that's pretty scary. It took like 4 clicks. I clicked debleed, clicked on click, learn, render, and it was done. That would take so long to do manually, so it's really cool too. I should also mention, this isn't sponsored. I don't work for iZotope. I have no affiliation with them. They are just like the industry standard for audio restoration tools, and they have some really cool plugins as well. Some of these actually work within Pro Tools, so you can actually open them up as a plugin within Pro Tools, which is pretty sweet. This version that I have is I wanna say the standard version. It's like $3.99 or something. And it comes with all of these plugins on the right here. I use the de-reverb. I use the voice denoise in almost every video. There's a lot of cool things that you can do. Mouth declick is a pretty impressive plugin. I use that quite a lot as well. And there is a more expensive version. I believe it's like $1,200 US. Comes with a whole slew of plugins. Really just some of the best tools going, especially if you're in like the video space. The tools are just, you can like remove wind, you can remove rustling from a microphone under a shirt. Like it's just crazy the tools that they have available. And they're all super transparent as well, so it's really nice, sweet to use. Well, sweet, just like that, you've got 3 different ways to remove click track from your audio. I hope that this video was helpful. We'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.